All right. Hello, Facebook and YouTube. All right, here we go. Welcome to Live Music Showcase here on 88.5 WMNF Tampa. I'm your host, Ken Apperson. We are here in studio with two of my favorite people from St. Petersburg, native St. Petersburg people, Daniela Soledade and Nate Najar. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you? It's so good to see you, Ken.
I am thrilled that you all are here in studio. They are here in studio ahead of their performance at the Palladium happening on April 23rd. You can still get tickets for that. I'm going to be sharing a link for those tickets in our live stream, which is happening right now on Facebook and on YouTube. On Facebook, it's WMNF's Live Music Showcase. On YouTube, it's WMNF Community Radio. Head over there now to join in on all of the live streaming fun. But let's dive into a song. Can we get into a song right off the bat?
Absolutely.
Take it away.
Que saudade do Brasil, é que vontade que eu tenho de voltar. Adeus América, essa terra é muito boa, mas não posso ficar porque o samba mandou me chamar. O samba mandou me chamar. Não posso mais, que saudade do Brasil, é que vontade que eu tenho de voltar. Adeus América, essa terra é muito boa, mas não posso ficar porque o samba mandou me chamar. O samba mandou me chamar. Eu digo adeus ao boogie-woogie, ao oogie-boogie, ao swing também. Chega de rocks, foxtrots e pinotes, que isso não me convém. Quero voltar pra cuíca, bater na barrica, tocar tamborim. Chega de likes e alrights e de fights, good night, isso não está mais pra mim. Eu quero um samba feito só pra mim. Posso mais, que saudade do Brasil, é que vontade que eu tenho de voltar. Adeus América, essa terra é muito boa, mas não posso ficar porque o samba mandou me chamar. O samba mandou me chamar. Eu digo adeus ao boogie-woogie, ao oogie-boogie, ao swing também. Chega de rocks, foxtrots e pinotes, que isso não me convém. Quero voltar pra cuíca, bater na barrica, tocar tamborim. Chega de likes e alrights e de fights, good night, que isso não está mais pra mim. Eu quero um samba feito só pra mim. O samba mandou me chamar. 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 O samba mandou me chamar.
Daniela Soledade and Nate Najar here on Live Music Showcase. I want to just ASMR whisper into the microphone today just because there's just something so soothing about what you're doing. And I tend to go the other way and be very abrasive when I'm talking. So I have to be very cautious not to overload our listeners who are now like totally dialed in on what's going on in the studio today. So obviously that was not in English, right? Unless that's a version I've never heard before. Portuguese?
That's right.
Portuguese, yes, okay. I'm not going to pretend like I'm real smart and knew that. I know that because I know that you originally hail from Brazil, right? And I know that Brazil's main language is Portuguese, so you put 2 and 2 together. How do you find being bilingual as a singer? Do you find, and what I mean by that is when you're in the process of like writing music or choosing songs that are played, when you're playing for an audience that you can probably assume is a lot of English speaking people, do you feel pressure to pick songs that are in English, or do you feel pressure to like translate or write in English?
So I love being able to sing in both languages. Of course, it just opens up my possibilities, right? And when it comes to live performances, I got lucky that Jobim himself and a couple of other wonderful lyricists did write English lyrics to a lot of the classic bossa nova songs. So a lot of Jobim songs do have an English version. And so it's wonderful for me because I get to sing in both languages, and I often do that.
Yeah.
When it comes to writing, well, before I mention that, also in live shows, I do sometimes explain what the lyrics are about.
Yeah.
But I often don't feel the need to do it every single song because I think the music also speaks for itself. So unless I think it's something that's going to add to the journey of the concert, some I may explain and some I may just let people enjoy it and just, treat me like I'm a saxophone player.
It's interpretive. Yeah. She's saying whatever I think it means, and I get to understand the feeling through the emotion that's conveyed, not necessarily through the language in which that emotion is conveyed. And I think that can be universal, truly.
Yeah,
truly.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to writing music, of course, it's always easier for me to write in Portuguese.
Sure.
It's a thing about, when you grow up somewhere, you read the literature in that language and you read other poetry. All the greatest poets I read in Portuguese. And of course, I come from a very musical background, so I've always been really into the lyrics of everything. And I have some of my favorite composers from Brazil are, of course, Antônio Carlos Jobim. I love Vinícius de Moraes, who is a really important one. And I love poetry by Chico Buarque. So I have a lot of lyrics, styles of styles of rhymes and vocabulary choices that, of course, I have so much more to pick from Portuguese because that's my native language.
That has to be the most challenging thing when writing, especially in writing in a language that wasn't like your first language. You speak English beautifully. You also speak Portuguese beautifully, obviously, just because it's a beautiful language. But it's kind of like from a songwriting perspective, that's the only perspective I can offer. When your vocabulary is like a toolbox, and the bigger your vocabulary, the bigger your toolbox that you can kind of pull from.
Yeah.
And so that makes perfect sense. That writing in your native language and in the language you grew up speaking.
Yeah. And there's something else about it is that the writing in different languages also, like Brazilian music is so rhythmic.
Yeah.
That a lot of the times the language is also, it goes with the beat. It goes with the rhythm and the how the syllables fit the melody and how that's syncopated.
Yeah.
The Portuguese fits a certain way, and sometimes when you try to do it in English, a word in Portuguese that would have like 3 or 4 syllables, in English has 2.
Yeah.
So how do you syncopate 4 different notes in that? So there are definitely some things that are interesting about it, but of course I also do write in English, and I love writing in English. Is just a little more challenging sometimes for me.
I love it. Let's get into another song, and then I do want to tell the audience a little bit about your history in your musical family a little bit. I think that's a really interesting story.
Absolutely.
We'll get into that after this next song. Yeah.
When I try to sing, you say I'm off key. Why can't you see how much this hurts me? with your perfect beauty and your perfect pitch. You're a perfect terror when I come around. Must you always put me down? If you say my singing is off key, my love, you will hurt my feelings, don't you see, my love? I wish I had an ear like yours, a voice that would behave. All I have is feeling and the voice God gave. You insist my music goes against the rules. Yes, but rules were never made for lovesick fools. I wrote this little song for you, but you don't care. It's a crooked song, but all my love is there. The thing that you would see if you would do your part is even if I'm out of tune, I have a gentle heart. I took your picture with my trusty Rolleiflex, and now all I have developed is a complex. Possibly in vain, I hope you weaken, oh my love, and forget those rigid rules that undermine my dream of a life of love and music with someone who understands that even though I may be out of tune, when I attempt to say how much I love you, all that matters is the message that I bring, which is my dear one, I love you. Você não sabe nem sequer pressente é que os desafinados também têm um coração. Fotografei você na minha Rolleiflex, revelou-se a sua enorme ingratidão. Só não poderá falar assim do meu amor, que ele é o maior que você pode encontrar, viu? Você com a sua música esqueceu o principal. É que no peito dos desafinados, no fundo do peito, bate calado. Que no peito dos desafinados também bate um coração. Para ba pa pa para pa 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 paia para.
Daniela, Soledade, and Najar here in Live Music Studio, on Live Music Studio, on Live Music Showcase. I'm not even saying English anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. Sounds wonderful. Sounds absolutely wonderful. So I get the sense from that. I'm going to make an assumption here because I only knew part of it. I think that it was similar lyrics for the first half and the second half in two separate languages, right?
Yes.
Love that. Thank you for the tie-in.
It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't always. Sometimes they get to write a version that tells the same story, but sometimes it's a version that tells a completely different story. Yeah.
I love that. That's so interesting. All right. So let's assume we're meeting for the first time here, and I don't know a thing about your lineage or your past or your history and your family and your family's roots in the bossa nova. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So I was really lucky to come from a very musical family in Brazil. My grandfather was a great composer. He composed with Antônio Carlos Jobim, with Vinícius de Moraes, with Fernando Lobo, and many wonderful composers like himself. And he wrote some songs that became very well known in Brazil in the 60s. including some carnival songs.
Yeah.
So he owned a nightclub in Rio too. That was one of the places where bossa nova started in Brazil, the bossa nova movement.
Sure, yeah.
And so my dad has all the best stories of going there as a kid and seeing all these artists that are all my idols rehearsing and playing shows every night in that nightclub. And so my dad also is a musician, a really wonderful musician, and he grew up in this environment. And so he had to be emancipated when he was 14 years old so that he could play in nightclubs professionally. So growing up in this family was a really wonderful experience. And of course, when you grow up in it, you just think, oh, this is the norm.
Sure.
It took me being removed from that and seeing it from the outside to say, whoa, this is not the norm. But it's so interesting to be in that environment, because what happens is everybody's always playing music and everybody's always getting together, and it's very enriching. It's something that you just kind of absorb by osmosis by being in that.
Yeah, immersive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my background.
And for those who don't know, I mean, you've heard bossa nova, and bossa nova is the first song I can think of that would accurately kind of give you, like, oh, that's bossa nova. It's probably "Girl from Ipanema."
That's right.
Which would be arguably probably one of the most well-known songs. And the thing that people in America especially don't often realize is that there was a huge bossa nova movement in the 60s around the world, in particularly, and it started in Brazil. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, that's right. So bossa nova was a musical movement that started in Brazil.
Yeah.
And the first recording, I think it's 1958
Sure.
or 1959. It was João Gilberto who recorded Chega de Saudade, and that's considered the official first bossa nova recording.
Oh, wow.
But we had artists in Brazil who got a hold of some American jazz records. And so they started including some American jazz harmony in their compositions. And they were kind of looking for this new sound, coming up with this new sound that was a little more modern than the previous samba canção that was that was the main music in Brazil. And of course, Antônio Carlos Jobim and João Gilberto, they loved big band jazz. They loved American jazz harmony. So that was that together with samba, the samba rhythm, really got the bossa nova wrapped up in one delicious thing.
Gave it a lot of like energy and spice and flair.
Yeah. So Charlie Bird, who was an American jazz guitarist, did a tour, a U.S. tour, State Department tour in South America. And he went to Brazil and he fell in love with the music. So with João Gilberto specifically, so he got some of his records and started playing. And this is when Nate and my path crossed, because Nate was a big fan of Charlie Bird and learned a whole lot of the Brazilian repertoire from Charlie Bird. And so when I met Nate, he had been playing Brazilian music for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
It was like...
Charlie Bird recorded a record in 1962 with the saxophonist Stan Getz. It was called Jazz Samba.
Yeah.
And it was influenced by these João Gilberto records that he brought back from the State Department tour of South America. And the record won a Grammy, and it became a big hit. The song we just played, Desfinado, that was the big hit that won the Grammy on it. And it had a cowbell on it, doing the tambourine part, the cowbell on it. You could hear it on every jukebox everywhere. So it was that kind of started the North American interest in bossa nova. And then a year later, Getz recorded with João Gilberto and his wife Astrucci, and Antônio Carlos Jobim on piano, Tio Neto on bass, and Dom Humão on drums, and not Creed Taylor, Phil Spector produced it. And they recorded it in New York.
Wow.
And that record, Getz Gilberto, had the Girl from Ipanema on it, which was, they said, they asked her to sing the song in English because they needed a song in English that could be a radio single.
Sure, and that Americans could identify with and grab onto.
Yeah, they wanted a radio single because they were right. You know, Getz had this Grammy with the Charlie Bird record.
Sure,
and so they were trying to capitalize on that success. And Sultry was a singer in Brazil. She was from Bahia, and she sang. You know, they were very young. They were in their early 20s, and she and João just sang in university and so forth. And so she was a professional singer, and she was the one who said, "Yeah, I'll sing it in English," and so that's how she ended up on the record, and it became such a big hit. And that really
history,
launched,
as they say. Yeah,
that sort of launched the whole thing.
And that song became
really
so
cool.
popular that some of the greats of that time re-recorded it. I mean, Frank Sinatra did a version of that song. Everybody did a version of that song.
Every single
Truly.
singer and instrumentalist recorded the song. It's one of the most recorded songs of the 20th century.
Truly, yeah.
And you know, Stan Getz, jazz musician, and quite a jerk actually. I mean, not a single person who ever knew him had anything good to say about him.
If anyone knows Stan Getz, call in right now. 813-239-9663. Let's chop it up.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. And you know, he bought a big mansion in Connecticut. With it was real success. It was real success.
Truly.
And The Girl from Ipanema at one point was the second most played song in the world. And so when somebody told that to Antonio Carlos Jobim, they said, "Did you know Girl from Ipanema is the second most played song in the world?" And he said, "What's the first?" And then they said, "Yesterday." And he's like, "But there are 4 guys and I'm just one."
Well, that's so interesting to me because now that song and by extension the genre of bossa nova became so iconic at that time, and I think that its influence has been diminished over time because well, before I dive into a couple of different segues, but like it was so iconic that now when movies are made in that time period, or like, you know, you'll have a movie that has like a scene in that time period, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna hear a bossa nova song. If it's not Girl from Ipanema, it's something else, just because that really grounds the scene in that time frame. Because even now, 65 years later, it grounds the viewer's perspective in that time frame. I love that, and that's there's not many better testaments to a song and a genre standing the test of time than that.
Yeah,
it defines an era.
Truly,
that's right.
Truly.
And it's interesting because it's so popular worldwide. No matter what country we go, people love bossa nova.
Truly.
They have such an affinity for it.
Mm-hmm. So on that note, let's hear some more notes in the bossa nova genre. And then after that, I want to talk a little bit to Nate, because a lot of our listeners know the name Nate Najar quite well in the Tampa Bay area. And you two teaming up, becoming a musical unit, becoming a romantic unit, and raising children together and all this. I think it's great. I think you guys are kind of a very romantic love story in the local music scene. So we'll get into that after this song.
Seu bem que lhe disse, amar é tolice, é bobagem, ilusão. Eu prefiro viver tão sozinho ao som do lamento do meu violão. Doralice, seu bem que lhe disse, olha essa embrulhada em que vou me meter. Agora, amor, Doralice, meu bem, como é que nós vamos fazer? Doralice, seu bem que lhe disse, amar é tolice, é bobagem, ilusão. Eu prefiro viver tão sozinho ao som do lamento do meu violão. Doralice, eu bem que lhe disse, olha essa embrulhada em que vou me meter. Agora, amor, Doralice, meu bem, como é que nós vamos fazer? Um belo dia você me surgiu, eu quis fugir, mas você insistiu. Alguma coisa bem que andava me avisando, até parece que eu estava adivinhando. Eu bem que não queria me casar contigo, bem que não queria enfrentar esse perigo. Doralice, agora você tem que me dizer, como é que nós vamos fazer? Doralice, eu bem que lhe disse, amar é tolice, é bobagem, ilusão. Eu prefiro viver tão sozinho ao som do lamento do meu violão. Doralice, Doralice, eu bem que lhe disse, olha essa embrulhada em que vou me meter. Agora, amor, Doralice, meu bem, como é que nós vamos fazer? Doralice, eu bem que lhe disse, amar é tolice, é bobagem, é ilusão. Eu prefiro viver tão sozinho ao som do lamento do meu violão. Doralice, eu bem que lhe disse, olha essa embrulhada em que vou me meter. Agora, amor, Doralice, meu bem, como é que nós vamos fazer? Um belo dia você me surgiu, eu quis fugir, mas você insistiu. Alguma coisa bem que andava me avisando, até parece que eu estava adivinhando. Eu bem que não queria me casar contigo, bem que não queria enfrentar esse perigo. Doralice, agora você tem que me dizer, como é que nós vamos fazer?
Speaking on rhythmic qualities of the genre, I love it. Daniela, Soledade, and Nate Najar here on Live Music Showcase. Here in studio, they're in here with us live, happening right now, unless you're listening from the future to the show in podcast form on Spotify or Apple Music, which you can do every Friday after the show goes live, or anytime, anywhere that you want to listen to it. Just search Live Music Showcase on either of those platforms, and you will find all of our past episodes, including this one, which will drop after the live broadcast ends in just a little while, which, I mean, we're already halfway through the show. It's already going well. It's already going quickly. That's always a good sign of things going well. The halfway point for our show is the AMA, the Ask Musicians Anything, the segment where you as a listener and as a viewer can call in with any comments or questions that you might have, and we will share them with Daniela and Nate, and you can have questions for them, question for me, question for WMNF. Anything and everything is on the table, and the only thing is just make them weird. We like them weird. We like weird questions. They're the weird ones. They're the most entertaining. They're the most fun. We do have people in the live stream already, making comments, and they're all extremely positive. Let's see. We have Dan says, sound great. Christopher James, good friend of the show. He was just on the show last week.
We love Christopher
He
James.
says, I love them both in all caps. I'm sure he's screaming. I'm not going to in the microphone, but you get the idea. Ian Page says, play Ever Blues, which is a joke from a few episodes back, telling one of the bands to play Everlong. And then Christopher says, let's see. Daniela, what is your hidden talent?
Hidden talent.
Wants to know if you have any hidden talent.
Oh boy, let me think about that. I don't know. What's a hidden talent, amor? Como? Jogo do Fogo? What's that? He just said the game of fire.
Ooh.
Oh, juggling. Okay.
Oh.
When I was a teenager, I juggled fire.
Wow.
I liked juggling. I practiced on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a good place to practice.
I practiced on the
juggling
beach.
Fire. Mm-hmm.
And I juggled. I did a couple different juggling things, and eventually I set it on fire, and it was so much fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
You set the beach on fire.
No.
Okay.
No, the juggling.
The juggle. Okay, just making sure everyone came out alive. Okay.
Everyone came out alive.
Everyone came out alive and unscathed, and that is what is important. That's excellent. In fire juggling, if you can walk away from it without a third-degree burn, I think you've done it right.
Yeah, I survived.
It's like landing
somehow.
a plane. You don't have to do it well. Just have to make sure everyone makes it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. That's very
right.
good. Okay, so real quick, I think we're gonna save it for after the next song. That way we don't keep the listeners waiting too long between songs. We always like to make sure that they hear plenty of music and they are not afraid of reminding us that they want to hear the music too. So let's hear another song, and then I want to talk about you, Nate, and how the two of you met, and we'll kind of go from there.
Qual é essa? Tá bom. 1, 2, 3. Ela, la, era, ela, la, yara, ela, la, era, why are my eyes always full of this vision of you? Why do I dream silly dreams that I fear won't come true? I long to show you the stars caught in the dark of the sea. I long to speak of my love, but you don't come to me. So I go on asking if maybe one day you'll care. I tell my sad little dreams to the soft evening air. I am quite hopeless, it seems. Two things I know how to do. One is to dream, two is love in you. Vivo sonhando, sonhando 1000 horas sem fim. Tempo que passa sonhando, zombando de mim. Tempo de falar em estrelas, falar do mar, do céu assim. Falar do bem que se tem, mas você não vem, não vem. Você não vindo, não vindo, a vida tem fim. Gente que passa sorrindo, zombando de mim. E eu a falar em estrelas, mar, amor, luar, pobre de mim, que só sei te amar. This vision of you. Why do I dream silly dreams that I fear won't come true? I long to show you the stars caught in the dark of the sea. I long to speak of my love, but you don't come to me. So I go on asking if maybe one day you'll care. I tell my sad little dreams to the soft evening air. I am quite hopeless, it seems. Two things I know how to do. One is to dream, two is love in you.
Daniela, Soledade, and Najar here on Live Music Showcase. They have a show on April 23rd, April 23rd at the Palladium. You can find out more information about tickets at mypalladium.org. I'm going to post a link for the tickets in the live stream in just a few moments here, probably right at the beginning of their next song. So stick around if you're waiting on that. I highly recommend checking these two out in a live show environment, not just because, okay, the last time we were together was on stage at the Palladium, where we did a show live. We did a live music showcase live and on location there, and I've never heard your style of music performed in a concert venue before, and I'd never been in a room that size. The most amazing thing about it to me is that as soft as you are singing, you still fill the room, which is, as a music geek, the difference between volume and resonance. You resonate. You fill that room with the sound of your voice and with the tones of that guitar, and it's just such an amazing thing. It does have a very kind of like ASMR kind of feel to it, like you get kind of tingles down the back of your spine in a very good way. So highly recommend seeing these two live in concert, and you can do that on April 23rd at the Palladium by going to mypalladium.org if you want to find out information about that. So Najar or Najar?
Najar usually.
Najar, okay.
You can say hey you, I'm good with that too.
Get off of my cloud. You've been playing in the area for how long?
My whole life.
Your whole life.
Yeah.
You're a local.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've been playing in this area for your whole life. You're pretty well known in the area to music lovers as a guitarist phenom, as a virtuoso, as Mark said earlier.
You guys are really
today.
nice.
You know, you're a nice guy too, which is why we feel comfortable complimenting you. You know what I mean? But they're true. It's true. I mean, anyone who's listening right now, you're taking guitar solos by yourself and still playing the root notes and the chord structures along with the melody. Like, it's incredible. It's really incredible. As a guitarist, I can sit here and go, that's amazing. All of that to say, why don't you have a bigger head? Does Daniela keep you in check?
I feel fairly confident in what I know and what I'm capable of. And I've had a chance to understand the growth that I've had, and what's interesting is for some reason I managed to find myself over all these years, and I'm old enough now. I like to say I finally turned into the shuffling old man I always wanted to be, but I'm old enough now to have like a first point of real reflection, right? And it's amazing the really wide-ranging different experiences I found myself in over the years. And so I have a unique perspective kind of about a lot of things. And it's a very humbling perspective. It's a very humbling one. And so back to the instrument and so forth, I've got a fairly good idea of what I know. I have a fairly good idea of the unknowable breadth of possibilities. And so, live and let live, right?
I love that. I love it. Yeah. Words of wisdom. Maybe words of wisdom that have been earned over a lifetime of being a musician in the scene here locally. And, there's not many that do it better.
Oh, so, thanks, man.
Very, very cool.
Thank you, man.
All right, let's dive into some more music, if that's all right with you all. We are 3/4 of the way through the show here, so it's flying by. Let's take a quick look at the live stream, which you can jump in on right now. If you're listening on the radio, you want to see what's going on in the studio here, just go to, on Facebook, WMNF's Live Music Showcase, and on YouTube, just go to WMNF Community Radio, and you can watch the live stream. Let's see. We do have a couple of people that have chimed in. Let's see. Oh, Christopher James responded to your reply and said, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. And Nancy C., from WMNF, she says, so much talent in one space. So that's nice.
Thank you.
Love
thank
that.
Thank you for the love.
Absolutely. All right. So let's dive into another song, can we?
I sure do.
While they're conferring,
have
just so you all know,
Sure.
you can jump
Doesn't
into the live
matter.
stream. I'm going to
I like
post a
them
link
both.
for tickets for their show
All right.
at the Palladium
Cool.
coming up on April 23rd here in just a few moments.
So we're going to do this tune that Carlinhos Lira wrote in the 50s.
All right.
And it's called Influencia do Jazz, the influence of jazz. And it's sort of a play on the fact that everyone was saying, yeah, they made that music because of jazz. And so they kind of made they made a jazz tune out of it, kind of tongue in cheek. I don't know the whole lyric, but a bit of the lyric kind of describes.
Yeah, it
that.
says samba's dying because jazz is influencing samba.
She broke out the flute, everyone. She broke out the flute. She's a flautist. That's amazing. Daniela, Soledade, and Nate Najar here on Live Music Showcase. Getting down, boogieing hard. I have a question that I think is a little silly, but I thought of it and I thought I'd ask you both. Your concert goers, people that come and see you perform, would you describe them as well-mannered or would you describe them as a rowdy bunch?
It depends on the crowd. Most of the time it's very well mannered, and then the Brazilians come out and then it's out of control.
So then the question I have is, what's the most outrageous thing you can remember an audience member doing at one of your shows?
We are so lucky. We have the best audiences.
Yeah.
I don't actually have like a horror story from an audience. Or
Even something just, it's always out of love.
Yeah.
These antics are always out of love.
Nothing outrageous.
No?
What would you?
We had a proposal one time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That was probably the most unusual thing. It was a couple, and the guy, it was an American guy and a Brazilian woman, and he wanted to ask her to marry him. So he contacted us before the show. He said, "We're coming to your show. Is it okay if at some point I propose to her during your show, and then can you sing this song, Summer Samba or So Nice, for us?"
Wow.
And we were like, "Oh, that's so nice, and it's so unique." So she didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And eventually we came and we announced it. There's and they came on stage.
Oh, wow.
And then so we just sat here. We were just sitting here, and they were here. And he proposed to her right here.
Oh, wow.
And then we sung So Nice for them. So that was probably the most unusual thing. Yeah.
Did she say yes?
Yes.
Okay,
She said
good.
yes.
Just
that was
making
good.
Just making sure. Yeah.
And
After all of that.
then they invited us for their wedding, which is really
Aw.
sweet. We had a concert, so we couldn't go, but that was really cool.
I love that. That's phenomenal. That's so great. I mean, isn't that one of the most magical things when you're a musician and you get to take part in those events in people's lives? They'll remember that moment for the rest of their lives. They'll tell their children that story.
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's very
amazing.
special. We feel very lucky to be able to have these experiences for sure.
I love it. I love it. So your show on April 23rd is going to be full band. You've got band members coming in from all over the world, really? I mean, just all parts?
We have a drummer coming from Brazil.
Yeah.
And he's Brazil's greatest drummer.
Wow.
And I mean, he plays with all of our idols.
Yeah.
And he's just unbelievable. This guy has been rehearsing with us a full samba school percussion section since he was like 5 years old.
Wow.
So he's like an entire samba school in one person. It's unbelievable what he can do with the drums and with all the percussion instruments he adds on, and it's a whole experience, just him.
I was going to say Latin percussion, Latin drums are a huge endeavor.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the normal drum kit, and then you have all of the hand instruments as well, and then you have like the very small.
Yeah, the tambourine. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of insane. Have you ever shaken his hand?
Yes.
Are his hands like thick leather from the calluses from the
I
hand
don't know.
instruments?
Are they?
Well, he's kind of Neanderthalish anyway.
They often are,
We love-
and nothing against. They're just you
Yeah,
gotta be
yeah.
jacked.
No, he's
to
yeah,
play
he's
like that.
great. You know, it's funny. He was in a band with my dad when they
Yeah.
were teenagers.
Oh wow!
So they've been working together for decades.
wow.
Yeah, actually,
He's like a family member.
I want to
know?
jump in on that. So Daniela, and we haven't even talked about this because we forgot about it. Daniela has a new single out today.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's from an album. It's a band album coming out. It's this band.
Yeah.
And the name of the album is Deco Tropical. It comes out May 9th. And the single that's out today is called Syllabus, which means the syllables.
Okay.
And it's a wordless vocal. It's an ensemble of Daniela's, doing the syllables like in a vocalese. And it's a tune that her father wrote. And her father and this drummer were in a band together since they were teenagers, and they both worked for Brazil's top artists.
Yeah.
Her dad's a bass player and a guitar player and a producer, and they refer to each other as each other's best employer, because if one got a gig, they, oh, my buddy plays.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
Yeah. So they but what's really cool is that there was a video that popped up on YouTube of them playing in like 1982 or something, playing this tune with this band that they had at the time called Garaging, Garage Band, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably it's playing guitar, and there's the guy on the roads, and Claudinho looking like, I mean, they're teenagers playing the drums down center, and it's like a Ed Sullivan looking TV show kind of thing, and they're playing this tune. So we recorded this tune for Daniela's new album.
Love that.
And it's out today. It's called
Cool.
Syllabus.
I'll post the link for that
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on
in the
all
comments
streaming
there for sure.
platforms.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
that was
so
kind of cool.
we're running up to the end of the
Okay.
show, so let's do one more tune, and then we'll check on the AMA questions,
Cool.
and then we'll call it a day.
I
Sound
love it.
good? Take us
Sounds
out with
good.
one more after that, and that'll be it.
You want to do, speaking of how much we love St. Pete. You wanna do that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
There we
let's
go.
do that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Well, I wrote this song because I moved from Rio here.
Yeah.
And I ended up in St. Pete, and I've been in St. Pete for 6 years, but I've been in Tampa Bay for 23. So when I got to St. Pete, I was like, this place is great.
Yeah.
So I wrote the song for St. Pete as a love letter to St. Pete. And Nate was born and raised in St. Pete. He brought
could
me
you
to
not?
he brought me to St. Pete, and I thank him every day.
I love it. I love it.
St. Pete, oh St. Pete, I love strolling around downtown, enamored with the murals all around. I'm glad I found my sound. There is no frown. I love you, St. Pete. I came from Rio. It's hard to find a place or just a warm embrace when you go somewhere new. I simply had no clue, but your sky is so blue. When I met you, I knew I love you, St. Pete. I feel so lucky to have my morning walk right there on Coffee Pot, enjoying morning light. The regrets in their flight, and dolphins swimming by. You make me feel alright. I love you, St. Pete. Jazz night at Intermezzo, rubies at night off Central, all down in Jazz Jam Monday nights for you to play. Mahaffey for ballet, I think I'm here to stay, 'cause every single day I love you, St. Pete. Dali Museum, the Splash Park at the pier, Palladium Theater is where I like to sing, and where I met my fling. Now we just do our thing, no matter what they think. St. Pete, oh St. Pete, I love strolling around downtown, enamored with the murals all around. I'm glad I found a different sound, a sunny ground. I love you, St. Pete.
Perfect. I love you, St. Pete, too. It's my hometown as well right now. All right, so we are coming up to the end of the show. Daniela, Soledade, and Nate Najar here in studio ahead of their show at Palladium next month, April 23rd. I posted the ticket link in our live stream. You can go on the live stream to find that ticket link right now. All right, so we are just a few minutes away from the end, and you guys can take us out with one more song. Is that cool? Can we do that? Okay, so before that, credit where credit is due. This show takes an entire team of people behind the scenes to make sure that it looks and sounds as good as it does. Sound mixer Mark Perfetti, audio assistant Pam Robinson, video director Ed Lehman. Cameras are Lisa Reuter, Charles Holsopple, and Marcy Connors. Our technical assistant is Ike Parham. Our board op is Charlie Cushing, and I'm your host, Ken Apperson, and this has been Live Music Showcase here on WMNF. Will you guys, before I even say anything else, thank you so much for being on the show today, for being available today, for serendipitously just gliding into our studio with your sultry, beautiful music.
Ken, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate you and everybody who makes this happen. Thank you.
All right. So take us out with one more. What's this one called?
What'd you think?
Either
Mineshka.
Oh, yeah. Marcos Vale, né? So we're going to play for you the song that the couple that got engaged on stage with us
perfect. Yeah.
asked for.
I love it.
Which is called Summer Samba, or So Nice. Someone to hold me tight, that would be very nice. Someone to love me right, that would be very nice. Someone to understand each little dream in me. Someone to take my hand and be a team with me. So nice, life would be so nice if one day I'd find someone who would take my hand and samba through life with me. Someone to cling to me, stay with me right or wrong. Someone to sing to me some little samba song. Someone to take my heart and give his heart to me. Someone who's ready to give love a start with me. Oh yes, that would be so nice. Could it be you and me? I could see that would be nice. Você viu só que amor, nunca vi coisa assim. E passou, nem parou, mas olhou só pra mim. Se voltar, vou atrás, vou pedir, vou falar. Vou dizer que o amor foi feitinho pra dar. Olha, é como o verão, quente o coração. Salta de repente para ver a menina que vem. Ela vem, sempre tem esse mar no olhar. E vai ver, tem que ser, nunca tem quem amar. Hoje sim, diz que sim, já cansei de esperar. Nem parei, nem só pensando em me dar. Peço, mas você não vem, vem. Deixa então, fala só, digo ao céu, mas você vem. Could it be you and me? I could see that would be nice. Deixa então, fala só, digo ao céu, mas você vem. Could it be you and me? I could see that would be nice.
And as nice as it is, we hate to see it end. Daniela, Soledade, and Nate Najar here on Live Music Showcase. Before I let you all go, now, to be clear, the radio broadcast has ended, and we are officially in live stream world. But that's okay, because we still have some wonderful people that are watching the live stream. If you're watching the live stream right now, say hey in the comments. That'd be amazing. And let's see here. We have, the AMAs, the Ask Musicians Anything. I had several comments come through that I wanted to share with you all. Let's see. I said there's several comments and then one question. Let's see here. One listener called in and said, superstars of the scene for sure. We have another one that says, as soon as I turned on the radio, I knew it was Daniela.
Ah.
How lovely. And then let's see, a listener comment right here. 2 professional jazz musicians here. Absolutely loving this show today. Love the new take on Jobim. Jobim, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm,
Thank you. Thanks for turning us on to her, Jenny and Mike, in Riverview. So thanks for listening, Jenny and Mike. And then finally, we have a question from for both of you, or for you in particular, Daniela. It says, does she get that resonance naturally, or does she use technique?
Or do I use what? Technique?
So your ability to like project, even though you're singing very like soft. Is there a specific technique, or does that just come out naturally?
You know, I don't. The way I sound in a room, it's almost like the same volume as when I speak, I would say.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that I really project. I don't know. I wouldn't say that I project.
Yeah.
But
Mas é som profundo.
But it's a deep sound. It's a very natural, organic sound, I would say.
Yeah.
And this is possible either in a very quiet, intimate environment, which is really what happens when we play as a duo, but also these great microphones pick up everything. So the microphones make it possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, I guess there is something to be said for that, for sure. But not only that, but like the way that you sing is very... If the microphones had feelings, they would love the way that you sing, because you're not like swallowing the microphone while you're trying to sing, full volume as well. And yeah, and to the people that are watching, fun fact, as a singing nerd myself, if you hear a person sing and then you listen to their speaking voice, and their speaking voice is similar to the way that they sing, it's a good bet that their singing voice is actually extremely natural and comfortable for them, because they're not changing a lot to achieve that sound. So that's even better. It's authentic. It's very cool. Okay, so that's the end of the show. Thank you both for being here today. Thank you for coming on the show. Daniela, Soledade, and Nate Najar on Live Music Showcase. They're playing at the Palladium on April 23rd, 2025. You can get tickets at the ticket link that I posted here in the live stream anytime you want to, and I hope you do, because I think that they're fantastic and they're definitely well worth seeing in person. So thanks so much for watching, and whether or not you're learning to play guitar or you're learning to speak Portuguese, go practice.
Thank you so much, everybody. We hope to see you there.